Hey, did you know that plastic is produced with oil? A fossil fuel that pollutes the environment. Wouldn't it just be awesome if we could live our lives without plastic? Well, there's a company that wants to help you do just that. Life Without Plastic. They sell products that will reduce or eliminate your dependence on plastic. They have a large selection of products like toothbrushes, food storage containers, drinking straws. And the best part is that they're also very reasonably priced. So what are you waiting for? Check out all these great plastic-free products and help save the planet. Just click on the link in the show notes to find out more and to start your journey to being plastic-free. Hello, fellow nature lovers. You know, when I'm not researching, recording, or editing the Nature Wanderer podcast, I like to listen to other podcasts. One of my favorite podcasts that I enjoy listening to is Mindful Businesses, hosted by Vidya Lear. The podcast is all about businesses that use sustainable practices. This podcast is not your typical boring lecture on sustainability, but rather a lively and entertaining conversation with innovators, business leaders, and thought leaders from around the world. What I love about Mindful Businesses is that it's not just informative, but also entertaining. The conversations are engaging and lively, and I always come away with a new perspective on sustainability. Whether you're a business owner looking to build a more sustainable business or just someone interested in learning more about sustainability, Mindful Businesses is the podcast for you. So grab your headphones and join Vidya on this informative journey towards building a more sustainable future. Hello, friends, and welcome to the Nature Wanderer podcast. I'm Paul, and tonight I am in my own backyard. Yes, I did say tonight. It is nighttime. It's about 10 o'clock at night right now, and I just love being out at nighttime. It is beautiful here, nice clear night. It's about 65 degrees, no clouds in the sky, so there are just tons of stars. The moon is actually almost full. We just got through a blue moon. For those of you who don't know what a blue moon is basically when you have a second full moon in a month. So when they say once in a blue moon, it's a rare thing. It's really not that rare. You usually have at least a couple of them during a year. So when you have more than one moon during a month, the second moon is known as the blue moon. So we had a blue moon, and it was actually a super moon too. And if you're into astrology, I'm not that deep into astrology, to me it's just like for fun, but some people are really into astrology, and it's kind of interesting. But astrology, it was a Pisces moon, which means it had a lot of energy. A lot of energy was given off by the moon, so people who are into astrology or crystals or anything like that, you probably understand a little bit more about what that means. I don't, but anyhow. So a full moon, a blue moon, that was just a few days ago, not too long ago. So the moon is lighting things up a little bit. It just came up about an hour ago. So it's not way up in the sky, so it's still a little bit dark out here, which is kind of what I wanted. Before I get started too much into the podcast, I do want to warn you, if you are going to do this, because I'm really encouraging you, get out at nighttime. Get out, explore your yard in the dark at night, but do it carefully. Be careful when you do it. I actually have my hiking boots on, even though I'm in my own backyard. I know that I could step in a spot that I don't see. Maybe there's something on the ground I don't see, and I don't want to twist my ankle or anything. I don't want to step on a rock in the trail, so wear good shoes when you're out in the dark, wandering around your yard. Also, I've got a couple of flashlights. Actually, I have 3 flashlights with me. I have 2 regular flashlights, very bright LED flashlights. That way I know where I am walking. I can see where I'm walking. It helps me see what's out here. And it helps, oh my God, that is so cool. That is awesome. I'm actually looking up in the sky. I was just walking along, and I was just looking up in the sky, and I see a string of lights up in the sky, and they're all in a row. That's so awesome. I turned my flashlight out because I want to see up in the sky. I love viewing what's up in the sky at night. And all of a sudden I saw this string of lights, just like one right after another. I just heard about it not too long ago, and they're deploying satellites is what they're doing. So it's like, I don't know what it is, some spaceships going along, SpaceX I believe it is, and they're just, every so often they drop a satellite, and when the moon or the sun reflects against them, you can see them, and they're just in a straight row, one after another, and really bright too. So that was just awesome. You know, I heard about it, I thought, well, that's kind of cool, that'd be neat to see, and now I just saw it. So there is, I don't know if it's an app or you can go on the website and they will tell you when it should be happening, so you know when to look up in the sky. But there's also constellations up here. The sun it's not a great sky viewing night. It was a little bit earlier, but right now the moon is full and it's getting higher up in the sky, and so it's kind of washing everything out. I live out in the middle of nowhere. There's no light pollution here, but the moon is actually causing the light pollution. But I see some of my go-to constellations. I see the big W in the sky, Cassiopeia. So there's 5 stars that form a W. And I see the Big Dipper. And of course there's the Little Dipper. And if you watch up in the sky long enough, you usually can catch a satellite or 2. But if you live in the city, it's kind of tough because you have all the light pollution around you, so it's really hard to see the sky. And tonight might be a tough night to see satellites because the moon is so bright. But it's such a clear night, there isn't a star in the sky. It's a little disappointing. I wanted to see the full moon the other night, the blue supermoon. Supermoon because it was like the closest to the Earth that it usually is, and makes it look bigger. It's like just a fraction bigger, but you know, it's enough to make it look bigger. And so it's pretty cool. We had an overcast night. It's like, oh man. I have great viewing out here on my property because, like I said, very little light pollution. So I've got my flashlight off now because there's so much light from the moon that I don't really need it to see where the trail is. But I'll turn it on in a minute. I want to see all the lights. But like I was saying, let me get back. I got sidetracked with the satellites. That was kind of cool. I actually called my wife and told her, get outside here and take a look. But anyhow, safety. I have my good boots on. I have a flashlight, bright flashlight, so I don't trip on anything. I also have a second flashlight just in case the batteries die in this one. or something goes wrong with it. Usually when I'm doing anything out at nighttime, I always carry a backup flashlight or backup batteries, one or the other. But you never know, it could be a bulb goes or something. Rarely happens, but it could. So I also have a blacklight flashlight with me. Okay, so it's an ultraviolet light flashlight. It's really bright, but it puts out, it's basically like a black light. And I'll explain what I'm doing with that in a little while here. But the other thing with safety when you're out at nighttime, walk slowly. Okay, there's no hurry. There's so much to see out here, so much to hear. So I always try to walk slowly because I don't want to trip on anything. Make sure that you know your surroundings. Don't be going to some strange place that you've never been to before and decide to go at nighttime. So just go out during the day. Now I'm going to turn my flashlight back on. There's a section here with taller grasses. And what I like to do with my flashlight is just, I'm going to stand still for a little while and just going to kind of scan the field. So with this flashlight, I can zoom in a little bit, and I'm watching the ground, and I'm seeing little lights on the ground, which is basically my flashlight reflecting off of the dew. But I'm looking closely, and I encourage you to get out and do this. I mean, it's so much fun. It's neat. Every once in a while, you'll catch one of these little dots, that's not dew. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of these like white dots here. But every once in a while, I'll see what is more of a green dot. Yep, just spotted one. Okay, so there's a green dot on the ground, and it's like a flashing light. It's like a little tiny green flashing light. Now, it's like very small. And what that is, that flashing light, if you go up really close, and make sure you go slow, go up really close to it, you're going to see that it's a spider. What you're seeing are the eyes of the spider. The light is actually reflecting off of the back of the eye. And that's why, eyes glow at nighttime. It's the light reflecting off of the back of the eye. In different animals, it reflects differently, and you'll get different colors sometimes. So, like human eyes, they, will reflect red when it is reflecting back. So it's just the light that's reflecting off of the back of the eye, and that's what you're seeing when you shine the light at them. So that's what I'm seeing in the grass here, and I'm walking real slow, going a little further. I also want to step on any animals that are on the ground. Yep, there's a slug. A lot of animals like being out at nighttime. Boy, he's moving slow. Yeah, he's just enjoying the evening. Slugs, snails, they like being out at nighttime. They do most of their activity at night, so I'm walking slow and watching the ground just so I don't step on anyone. Don't want to harm anyone, so not just your safety, also think of others. Now I'm scanning the tall grass with my flashlight, seeing if I see any spider eyes out in the grass. I've got a moth. My light's so bright, I got a moth that's flying around close to my light. Now I'm going to stop here. I'm going to lower my voice a little bit because I want you to listen, because that's another exciting part about going out at nighttime. So we've got crickets. I'm hearing the katydids. I'm also hearing cicadas. Now when I shine my light, this is a pretty cool thing to do too. I'm actually back in a treed area on my property. There's a big old white pine, a couple of big old white pines. There's an apple tree here. There's a old farmer's pond that has all these trees around it. And when I come back here, I just felt a change in the temperature. Yeah, that's another cool thing at nighttime. It's a little bit cool. Like I said, it's like 60, 65 degrees, and all of a sudden I hit a warm patch. So you can really feel those at nighttime. But when I shine my flashlight up over the pond and up in towards the trees, you can see all the little bugs flying around up there. Make sure you have a good bright flashlight. So another thing that's kind of really neat to see, all the activity at nighttime. And when we go to bed, everyone else is waking up. Nature doesn't go to sleep at nighttime. It's still very active. Haven't heard any owls tonight. It might be a little bit early. Okay, now that I'm back at my trees, there's another fun thing to do. I'm going to turn my flashlight off. And this is fun to do with the kids, or the big kids like me. Yeah, I'm always willing to admit that I'm just a big kid. Now, I talked about how I had my UV light, okay, my ultraviolet light, and it's a really bright one. Oh, yeah, don't shine it in your eyes. It's a really bright one, and I'm taking it and I'm shining it up at the trees. Now, the tree looks kind of neat when you do that. It's a little bit different color. See, with the UV light, you can use it for a lot of different things. I know that law enforcement uses it for looking at counterfeit money and all. You see, the UV light will actually, look at a moth flying in front of me, and he looked kind of neat under the UV light. He really stood out. Now, the reason, it's like back in the 60s and even into the 70s, I used to have a blacklight poster in my room, in my bedroom at my house when I was a kid. And I would have a black light on, and when you turn the black light on, it glows all the colors. Everything else in the room is really kind of just dark, and that black light poster would just glow. Boy, I know I'm really dating myself here, but what's happening is the pigments are getting excited, you could say. They're getting excited, and so they are catching the UV light and they're reflecting off of that. So that's why it's much brighter. And what I'm looking for up in the trees here, and I haven't spotted any quite yet, going down to one of the bushes here, is I'm looking for caterpillars. Most caterpillars, might be a little chilly tonight for them, most caterpillars like to be more active at nighttime. You see, if they're crawling around all the time during the day, you know what happens? Along comes the birds, and the birds will find them quickly and eat them. So yeah, they will hide away during the day, and then they come out at nighttime. And because most caterpillars, like I said, the pigments in their skin reflect, or capture, I should say, they get excited by the UV light. Okay, so I'm coming into some taller grasses here. And neat thing about black light, the UV light, is it's not just for seeing caterpillars up in trees, but it's also for seeing what's in the grasses. Now, unfortunately, this is a good year, I shouldn't say unfortunately. Oh, there's a moth on the goldenrod here. He's getting his dinner. I saw with the UV light. They don't really glow bright under UV like some insects do. But sometimes you'll catch them just because they're white in color, but the darker moths you won't. So as I'm coming closer to my pond here, okay, I'm going to be looking at the edge of the pond. I'm actually going to switch lights. I'm going to turn my black light off, and I'm going to get out my bright flashlight, because this is where I usually see the wolf spiders. Even during the day, I see a lot of wolf spiders around the edge of the pond and the taller grass. So let's see if we can find any of the flashing eyes. Someone told me about this a long time ago. They says, oh yeah, you ever go out at nighttime and look for spider eyes? And I'm like, what? And so I looked it up, and sure enough, yeah, you take a bright flashlight and you shine it at the taller grasses, and you'll find there's some, yep, you'll see the little green, really rapidly flashing lights in the grass. And that's basically the spider eyes. And I get a lot of wolf spiders around the edge of my pond here. Now I'm in a section where there's the tall reeds, cattails here, and there's a moth sitting on the cattails, just flew off and is flying around my bright light. So why do moths go towards the light? You know, it used to be believed that moths would fly towards light because they navigated by the moon, and so they confused them. When you had a flashlight out or a street light or anything like that, it confused them because they thought that, oh, it's the moon. Now, they've done studies and they found that that's partially true, but they also found that it's not so much navigation as orientation. They did studies with these insects, with the moths, and they found that if a moth was flying over the top of a light, he got confused because he thought, well, the moon's supposed to be above me. So they would try to flip over to fly upside down. And when they did that, they basically lost their balance and they ended up falling to the ground. They collapsed down onto the ground. And sometimes they, would get hurt. And they found that if they were flying under the light, it also confused them a little bit, but not as much as if they flew over. So it's more orientation than it was navigation. So that's why they found they're assuming that moths are flying towards light. It's basically a navigation thing and an orientation thing together. And I'm sure they're coming up with new studies and they'll come up with other reasons too. So yeah, I keep getting moths flying towards my flashlight. Now, I'm gonna switch lights again and go back to the black light for a little while here. Now, usually I see some spiders will reflect with a black light. Their bodies will reflect from the black light, but not all spiders. There's just a few that will. But my grass is really tall this year. The goldenrod, all the plants in my field are really tall. So it's hard to get out into the middle of the field, which is where most of the spiders are. You will see them along the edge every once in a while. There's it's another stink bug, a bunch of them. But the stink bugs really like this aster. There are so many of them on the aster. I haven't seen them on the other plants, but yeah, they're on the aster there. And as I'm coming along here, kind of interesting how it's like deeper down in the grass. Some of the grasses are actually glowing a brighter, almost like a fluorescent green, yellow. And the dandelions along the edge, And also, it looks like the clover too. Dandelion and clover seem to be glowing like in an orange, a bright orange color. That's kind of interesting. Usually I'm just at the trees, looking up in the trees with my flashlight, looking for the caterpillars. And as I get closer to my house, I'm gonna take a look at some of the trees there because I got some maples. And I usually get a lot of caterpillars up in there. But I want to keep scanning the field here to see if I can find any spiders or anything else kind of interesting. I do recommend, getting a really good bright flashlight, UV flashlight. They're not that expensive online. Or if you have a local store, I always like buying local. Support the mom and pop shops. But you can pick them up fairly inexpensive. I'm scanning the tree here. I'm seeing a few moths here and there flying through. Not seeing any caterpillars on the tree. It might be a little bit too cool tonight to get a lot of caterpillars. Like I said, I'm heading up towards the house, towards my maples, and I usually get some good caterpillars up on my maple trees. And the moon it's just so bright. It's easy to go without a flashlight tonight, so I'm just going to keep my UV light on so I can see anything interesting out there. So all these things at nighttime, it's just amazing to see all of them. It's a lot of fun. I recommend, if you think you know your backyard, get out at night and you're going to find that there's so many different things that you have never seen in your yard. All the things that are hiding at nighttime. And like I always encourage everyone, don't just use your eyes, and especially at nighttime. You can't see everything, so use all your senses. Use your hearing. I'm hearing so many insects and bugs out here. But just seeing so much, hearing so much, and even the scent is different at nighttime. Okay, well, I'm back around my pond, so I'm going to switch lights, see if I can see. I like to shine it in the water too. Usually the fish at nighttime are hanging around the edge of the pond. You don't have to worry about the big birds, the heron and the such flying over. So they're sleeping at night. Yeah, I'm seeing some of the green flashing eyes. And there's some fish along the edge of the pond in the water. I can't buy one of my maples here. I'm going to look up, see, there's a caterpillar. Yeah, so we got some caterpillars, at least one up here. Check the others. Yeah, so we have at least one caterpillar in that tree. And I'll go back to the bright flashlight, see spider eyes. Oh, there's another flashing one. Now you're going to see a lot of, right now I am seeing a lot of reflection in the lawn, but that's because of the dew. So I've got all the dew on the grass. But every once in a while you catch that really quick greenish flashing. And that's the spider eyes. Okay, one more spot I want to check before we call it a night. That's my big maple. That's right, always see the caterpillars. Make sure, this is a nice bright UV light, which is why I can go way up in the tree with it and see all the caterpillars up there. Like I said, it's a little chilly tonight, so I'm not seeing many. If there's a few. So yeah, seeing a lot of lot of glowing in this maple. This is, I don't know, the caterpillar seems to like this maple. I never see a lot of chew on it. There's some. If you see leaves that have holes in them and such, that's usually means you have insects, caterpillars and such chewing on it. I'd like to thank you for wandering along with me in my own backyard tonight, and I encourage you, get outside in your yard at nighttime. It is so different. Do it safely, wear the proper footwear, bring some flashlights with you, get a UV light, get out there and just explore, and you'll be amazed at what you're going to see at nighttime in your own yard. It's so much different. Look at the constellations, look at the stars, the moon. If you really want it dark out there, wait for a new moon, but do it anytime. It's just so amazing. And I'm going to head on out. I'd like to thank you for joining me. Bring a friend with you next time. Invite your friends to listen to the podcast. The more the merrier. Don't forget to rate and review. Become a patron on my Patreon page. Make a donation on my Ko-Fi page. All the links are in the show notes. I've got some awesome gear you can purchase. There's, just keep exploring nature. So thanks and have a great day, or I should say, have a great night. And get out and keep exploring the nature around you. Hello, nature lovers. Do you love to read books like I do? I've always enjoyed reading books ever since I was a kid, especially books about nature. Unfortunately, as I get older, I find myself with less and less time to sit down with a good book. I've solved that problem with Audible. Audible allows you to listen to your favorite titles while you are driving, at the gym, taking a walk, wherever you are. With all the latest titles, you'll have quite a selection to choose from. And they have podcasts too. Start listening today with a free 30-day trial. To get your free 30-day trial, go to the show notes and click on the link. Happy listening.